If you want to see our previous videos, then click the channel name or picture below the video, then go to the video or playlist option. This is Bori Critical Mahabharat book, section 12, Draupadi swayambar Parva, chapter 174. Arjuna said, O Gandharva, please press the red subscribe option and press the bell icon for my latest video updates. O Gandharva, you know everything. Tell us who learned in the Vedas is fit to be appointed our priest. The Gandharva said, There is a Tirtha in this forest known as Utkochaka. Devala's younger brother Dhaumya is engaged in practicing austerities there. If you wish, you can appoint him as your priest. Bhisampana said, Then Arjuna happily gave the Gandharva his Agneya weapon. In accordance with the prescribed rituals, he said, O best of the Gandharvas, keep the horses for the moment. We shall take them from you when we need them. Be blessed. Then the Gandharva and the Pandavas respectfully saluted each other and left the beautiful banks of the Bhagirathi to go to wherever they wished. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, the Pandavas went to Uttakochaka Tirtha and Dhaumya's hermitage. They instated Dhaumya as their priest. Dhaumya, foremost among those who know all the Vedas, received them with water to wash their feet and with offerings of fruits and roots from the forest. He agreed to be their priest. Having obtained the Brahmana at their forefront, the Pandavas were hopeful of obtaining riches and the kingdom and of winning Panchali in the swayambar, Draupadi swayambar, with their mother constituting the sixth person of the group. Those bulls of the Bharata lineage considered themselves well protected now that they had a preceptor, for the noble preceptor knew the subtle nuances of the Vedas well. He made the virtuous sons of Pritha his disciples in learning all the knowledge, seeing that those warriors were already endowed with intelligence, valor, strength, and perseverance equal to that of the gods. He decided that they were already restored to their kingdom through their own virtues. He blessed them. Those kings among men decided to go with him to the Swayambara in Panchala. Bhisampana said, Then those tigers among men, the five Pandava brothers, set out to see Draupadi and the great and divine festival. Those tigers among men, the scourger of enemies, and their mothers saw many Brahmanas who were headed in the same direction. O king, those Brahmanas asked the Pandavas who were traveling as Brahmarshis, Where are you going? Where have you come from? Yudhishthira said, O revered ones who have seen the gods, know that we are brothers who have come from Ekchakra and are traveling with our mother. The Brahmana said, Then you should now go to the house of Drupada of Panchala. A large Swayambara ceremony will be held there. With a lot of riches, we are going there ourselves. Let us go together. A great ceremony with wonderful events will take place there. A great soul. The Brahmana said, Then you should go to the house of Drupada of Panchala. A large Swayambar ceremony will be held there with a lot of riches. We are going there ourselves. Let us go together. A great ceremony with wonderful events will take place there. The great soul Yagyasena, Drupada, obtained a daughter from the middle of the sacrificial altar, and her eyes are like lotus petals with unblemished feathers and beauty, youth and intelligence. She is the sister of the powerful Drishtidumya, Drona's enemy. He arose from the blazing fire, as resplendent as the fire, with mighty arms, natural armor, sword and bow and arrows. His sister is the slender waisted Draupadi, whose form is flawless. Her body emits the fragrance of the blue lotus from a distance of one crochet. Yagyasena's daughter will choose a husband at the Swayambara. We are going there to see her and witness the divine and great festival. Kings and princes from different regions will be present there. Performance of sacrifices at which large quantities of alms are offered. Those devoted to studying pure great soul, those devoted to their vows, young handsome Maharathas, and those skilled in the use of weapons, desiring victory, those kings of men will give away a lot of riches, cows, food grains, and other objects of pleasure, accepting whatever they offer and witnessing the Swayambara and all the festivals. We will then go wherever we wish. Actors, birds, dancers, recounters, panegyrists, and powerful wrestlers will assemble from many countries. O great soul one, after witnessing those wonderful sights and accepting what is offered, you can also return with us. You are handsome, you look like gods. You, on seeing you, Krishna, means Draupadi, may decide that one of you is the best and choose you. This brother of yours is handsome and appearance and has powerful arms. He may win those wrestling bouts and obtain great riches. Yudhishthira said, we will go with you to witness the supreme, great and divine festival, the ladies Swayambara. Besampayana said, O Janmeja, having been thus addressed, the Pandavas headed for the southern part of Panchala, ruled by King Drupada. On their way, the brave Pandavas met the great soul, pure soul, unblemished and illustrious sage Depayana, means Vedvyas, and paid their respects to him in accordance with the prescribed rites. He too showed them his respect, and after their conversation was over, on his instruction, they protected to proceeded to Drupada's palace. Those Maharathas proceeded slowly, stopping when they saw beautiful forest and lakes. At last, Kuru's descendants, devoted to learning, pure, amiable, and sweet of speech, arrived in Panchala. After seeing the city and the royal residence, the Pandavas lodged in a potter's house. Adopting the lifestyle of Brahmanas, they begged for their food. No one recognized those warriors when they stayed there. Yagyasena always desired to give Krishna to Kiriti. Yagyasena means Drupada, Draupadi's father, and Krishna means Draupadi, Pandu's son, but he never revealed this to anyone. O Janmeja, O descendant of the Bharata lineage, thinking of Kunti's son, the Panchala got a very hard bow constructed, one that no one else would be able to bend. He had an artificial machine set up above, and onto this machine he fixed a golden target. Drupada said, he who can string this bow and after stringing shoot the large above with these arrows will obtain my daughter. With these words, King Drupada announced the Swayambara everywhere. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, hearing this, all the king assembled. Many great souled rishis also came there, wishing to witness the Swayambara. The king, the Kauravas, led by Duryodhana, also came there, accompanied by Karna. Many illustrious Brahmanas also came from many countries. The great soul Drupada duly worshipped two kings. All the citizens and all the kings took their seats, resulting in a roar like that of the ocean full of porpoises. The platform was constructed on the northeast of the city on a flat and auspicious piece of ground. The beautiful meeting place was surrounded by houses on all sides. It was enclosed by a wall and a moat on all sides, decorated with gates and covered everywhere with a colorful canopy. It echoed to the sound of many musical instruments, was scented with agaru, adorned with garlands and sprinkled with sandalwood water. Large and white palaces that were well built surrounded it on all sides, like the peaks of Kailash when they touched the sky. The windows were covered with golden uh, trellises, and the well sparkled with mosaic work of precious stones. The stairs were easy to climb. The seats were covered with expensive cloth that was not like those that come from villages. They were white like swans and scented with agaru, so that the fragrance could be smelled one yojana away. Each palace had 100 doors and had beautiful seats and couches. The expensive beds had many metals on them, like the peaks of the Himalayas. All the kings were seated on the many stories of these palaces, each one decorated with many ornaments and boastful of his success. Those tigers among kings were scented with the paste of black aguru and were greatly fortunate, devoted to the Brahmanas, protectors of their realms, and loved by all the world because of their good deeds. When they were seated on their royal seats, the inhabitants of the city and of the country who had come to see Krishna, means Draupadi, also took their seats. The Pandavas took their seats with the Brahmanas and witnessed the unrivaled splendor of the king of Panchala. O king, for many days the numbers who had assembled increased, many jewels and distributed, and many dancers and actors provided at entertainment. O bull of the Bharata lineage, on the 16th day, when there was a crowd, Draupadi bathed, wore the best of clothing, and adorned herself with many ornaments. She descended into the arena, carrying in her hand a beautifully adorned golden prize of the winner. After pouring offerings of ghee into the sacrificial fire according to prescribed rites, the priest of the Somakas, a pure Brahmana learned in the mantras, uttered salutations of peace to the fire and the Brahmanas and stopped the playing of all musical instruments, O ruler of the earth. When everything was quiet, Dishtidumya went to the center of the arena and spoke in the thundering voice words that were deep with meaning and sweet. O assembled kings, hear that this is the bow, that is the target, and these are the arrows. With these 5 arrows, shot the target through the hole in the center of the machine. I truly say that the handsome and strong one, born in a noble family, who accomplishes this great feat today, will obtain as his wife my sister Krishna, Draupadi. Having thus addressed the assembled kings, Drupada's son spoke to Draupadi, recounting to her the lineages and deeds of the assembled kings. Dishtidumya said, Duryodhana, Durbishaha, Durmukha, these are Dhritarashtra's sons. Bibhinshati, Vikarna, Saha, Dushasana, Sama, Yusu, Yatavega, Bhim, Begadhara, Ugrayudha, Balaki, Kanakayu, Birochana, Sukundula, Chitrasena, Surbacha, Bahushali, Bikata. These and others are the immensely powerful sons of Dhritarashtra. These warriors have come with Karna of your hand. Hundreds are the famous and great soul kings, bulls among the Kshatriyas, Sakuni, Bala, Vishaka, and Brihadbala. All these sons of the kings of Gandhara have come, means Shakuni, adorned with every ornament. The great soul warriors Ashwathama and Bhoja, skilled in the use of all weapons, have come. The kings Brihanta, Manimana, and the valiant uh, Dandadhara, Sahadeva, Jayatsen, Susharma, Sadeva, Jayatsena, Magasandhi of Magadha, Virata, and the two sons of Shankha and Uttara, Bardakshemi, Susharma, King Senabindu, Abhibhu with his sons Sudharma and Subarcha, Nomitra, Shukumara with Vrika, Suryadeva, Nila, Chekitana, the immensely powerful Shrinimana, Chandrasena, the powerful son of Samudrasena, Jala Samdha, the father and son Bidanda, Danta, Pondra, Kalinga, the Mahabharata Shalya, king of Patna, king of Madra with his son, the brave Rukuma Gandha, Rukumaratha, the Kaurava Samadatta, Kamboja, Sudikshina, Bhuri, Shala, Kaurava, Vasudeva, Rukmini's brave son Shamba, मतलब कृष्णा सन कृष्णा वासुदेव सन Sharana, Gada, Akrura, Satyaki, the immensely powerful Uddhava, Hridikashan, Kritavarma, Prithu, Biprithu, Viduratha, Kanka, Shamika, Saramajaya, the brave Batapati, all the famous and descended from the Vishnu lineage, Jayadratha, Sindhu, Balika, patient king Vata, the king of Koshala, the fortunate one, these and many other kings of many regions famous on earth have come here for you. These brave ones will try to shoot the excellent target for your hand. O beautiful one, you will choose as a husband the one who hits it. Next, Beshampana said, those youthful kings were adorned with earrings. Each regarded himself as the most skilled in the use of weapons. All of them stood up and brandished their weapons. They boasted at one another instant with beauty, valor, lineage, virtue, riches, and youth. They were like kings of elephants from the Himalayas, drunk in the season of rut. They stared at each other in insolence, mentally struck with desire. They suddenly stood up for their royal seats and exclaimed, Krishna will be mine. Krishna means Draupadi. Assembled in that arena and eager to win Draupada's daughter, they looked like gods who stood around Uma, the daughter of the king of the mountains. Their bodies were pierced with the arrows of the god of love. They completely lost their hearts to Krishna. They descended into the arena feeling hatred from their own relatives for Draupadi's sake. The gods come in their heavenly chariot, the Rudras, the Adityas, the Vashus, the twin Ashwins, all the Sadyas and all the Maruts with Yama and the god of wealth at the forefront. There also come to Daityas, the Surpanas, the great Ugrayas, the Devarshis, the Guhakas, the Charanas, Vishwabashu, Narada, Parvata, the chief Gandharvas with the Apsaras, Halayuda, Janardana, the chief among the Vrishnis, and the Andhakas, the chief among the Yadus, always devoted to Krishna, were also there, witnessing it on Seeing the five Pandavas like elephants in route that had come to a lake full of lotuses like a fire covered with ashes, the chief of the Yadus began to wonder. He told Rama, that is Yudhishthira, that is Bhima, and that is Jishnu, means Arjuna, and those are the valorous twins, Nakul Sahadev. Glancing at them leisurely, Rama cast a pleased glance at Janardana. Rama means, I think, Parashurama. Beating their lower lips in anger. Through other warriors, the sons and grandsons of kings had set their eyes, hearts, and natures on Krishna, beating their lips and with faces that were like copper in color. They only looked at her on seeing Draupadi, Pritha's mighty armed sons, and the brave and great natured twins were struck with the arrows of the god of love. The place was full of gods, rishis, Gandharvas, Shuparnas, Nagas, Asuras, and Siddhas, pervaded with divine fragrance and covered with divine garlands. A great roar arose from the drums and the sounds of the flute. The veena and cymbals echoed. The celestial roots were crowded with the heavenly chariot of the gods. Then, one after another, those kings exhibited their valor for Krishna, means Draupadi, but the bow was so strong that with all their strength they could not string it. The form wood of the bow recoiled and flung those brave rulers of men on the ground. They failed in their desire and could be seen on the ground, miserable and broken in spirit. Their firm bow caused them pain and shattered their bracelets and earrings. Having lost hopes of obtaining Krishna, the assembly of kings were crestfallen. In that assembly, those kings who boasted of noble birth then become objects of derision. Kunti's brave son Jishnu then arose, wishing to string the bow and place an arrow on it. Before Duryodhana, Arjuna going. Vishnupada said, when all the kings gave up attempting to string the bow, the great soul Jishnu arose from among the Brahmanas on seeing Partha advance with a complexion resplendent like that of Indra's flag. The chief Brahmanas shook their desk screens and created a great uproar. Some of them were pleased, others were displeased. Others among them, who lived by their wisdom and were wise, told each other, O Brahmanas, if Kshatriyas like Karna and Shalya, who are famous in the world, have great strength and are well versed in Dhanurveda, could not string the bow, how can this weakling Brahmana with no knowledge of weapons succeed? Kshatriyas like Karna means that time no caste system, okay? A caste system was made by karma, not by birth. This is the real situation of that time. How can this weakling Brahmana, if he fails to succeed in an act that he has undertaken because of his juvenile inexperience, the Brahmanas will become objects of ridicule in the eyes of the kings. Therefore, stop him from attempting to string the bow. He is doing it out of vanity and childishness, inexperienced at being a Brahmana. We will not be ridiculed, nor incur anyone's disrespect, nor will we displease the kings of the world. Others said, he is handsome and youthful, he is like the trunk of the king of elephants. His soldiers' arms and thighs are built well. In perseverance, he looks like the Himalayas. One who is so salute may well accomplish the task. Without a doubt, he has great strength and great endeavor. Without this, he would not have gone on his own. Beside, among the three orders, there is no task in the worlds that Brahmanas cannot accomplish. Brahmanas abstain from food, live on air, eat only fruit, observe rigid vows, and become weak, yet retain the strength of their own energy. The Brahmana should not be looked down upon. Whether his deeds are right or wrong, no one should consider him incapable of performing a deed, big or small, pleasing or unpleasant. The Brahmanas continued to voice their opinions in this way. Arjuna came to where the bow was and stood there like a stationary mountain, circumambulating the bow in accordance with the rites. The creature of enemies bowed his head to the bow and uh, joyously grasped it. In the twinkle of an eye, he strung the bow and grasped the 5 arrows through the hole in the machine. He suddenly pressed the target and it fell down on the ground. Thereupon a great roar was heard in the sky and a great clamor arose in the assembly. The gods rained down celestial flowers on Partha's head, that killer of enemies. All the spectators waved their upper garments in joy or uttered sounds of despair. Flowers shot down from the sky. The musicians played on hundreds of instruments in a sweet voice. The beards and our recounters began to chant the praises of the hero. Seeing that destroyer of enemies, Drupada was extremely happy and wished to help Partha with his army should the need arise. When the uproar reached its peak, Yudhishthira, foremost among those who tread the path of Dharma, swiftly left the assembly and went home, accompanied by the twins, means Nakul Sahadev, supreme among men. On seeing the target shot and on seeing Partha, the equal of Indra, Krishna was extremely happy. Draupadi was extremely happy. She went to Kunti's son with a garland of white flowers. All the Brahmanas paid homage to the one who had accomplished the unthinkable and had won her in the assembly. He soon left the arena, followed by the one who would be his wife. Vesampayana said, when the king expressed his desire to give his daughter to the great soul Brahmana, all the assembled kings looked at each other and were filled with anger. The king said, we are assembled here, and he passes us over like straw. He wishes to give Draupadi, supreme among women, to a Brahmana. This evil-hearted one does not respect us. Let us kill him. He does not deserve our respect or veneration because of qualities of age. On account of this, let us kill this wretch who insults kings and their sons. After inviting the entertaining in the proper fashion all the kings with food, he then showed them disrespect. In this assembly of kings, which is like a conclave of the gods, can he not find a single king who is his equal? The sacred text clearly said that a swayambara is for Kshatriyas. Brahmanas have no right in the choice of a husband. O kings, if this lady does not wish one of us as her husband, let us throw her into the fire and return to our kingdom. Through that Brahmana has done injury to kings out of his impertinence and greed, he should not still be killed. After all, our kingdoms, lives, riches, sons, grandsons, and all our other wealth exist for the sake of Brahmanas, but something must be done to prevent insult and to protect our own dharma so that others swayambaras do not end like this one. Having said this, those tigers among kings with arms like clubs rushed at Drupada with deserved weapons so as to kill him. Seeing those angry kings rushed at him with bow and arrows, Drupada was frightened and sought the protection of the Brahmanas. However, as those kings rushed at Drupada like mad elephants, Pandu's two sons, the great archers who conquered their enemies, advanced to repulse them. Thereupon, all the kings, their fingers clad in armor and with their weapons raised, violently rushed towards the Kuru princes Arjuna and Bhimsena. Bhima, the performer of amazing deeds, the immense strength, and like a thunderbolt, tore up a large tree with his hands and stripped it of all its leaves like an elephant. With that tree, the mighty armed Bhima, Pritha's son and the destroyer of enemies, stood next to Partha, bull among men, and with long and thick arms like Yama with the terrible staff. On seeing the unthinkable feats of Jisnu and his brother Damodara, the one with superhuman intelligence, turned to his brother Halayudha. Damodara means Krishna and Halayudha means Balarama, himself the performer of awesome deeds, and said, O Shankarshana, the warrior who has the gait of a mad bull and who holds a great bow that is 4 cubits long in his hand, must be Arjuna. If I am Vasudeva's son, there can be no doubt about this. The warrior who has uprooted a tree with his strength and is instantly ready to repulse the kings is undoubtedly Brikodara Bhima. No other mortal on earth can perform such a feat today. O Achyuta, the other one who left a wild ego with eyes like lotus petals, slender and with the gait of a powerful lion, humble fear and with a long and shining nose, must have been Dharmaraja. I am sure that the other two youths, such like Kartikeya, must have been sons of the two Ashwins, Nakul Sahadeva. I had heard that Pandu's sons and Pritha had escaped from the fire in the house of Lake. Halayudha, with an complexion like that of clouds, happily spoke to his younger brother, I am delighted, and our father sister Pritha, means Kunti, with the foremost of the Kurus, has escaped. Vespaina said, those bulls among the Brahmanas shocked their deerskins and water spots and said, do not be frightened, we will fight with the enemies. Arjuna smilingly told those Brahmanas, stand aside as spectators. A spectator. I will repulse those kings like poisonous snakes with mantras, with showers of hundreds of sharp pointed arrows. Having said this, the Maratha took up the bow he had obtained and as dowry, as accompanied by his brother Bhima, stood there like an immovable mountain, seeing the Kshatriyas with Karna leading them. Furious to do battle, they fell upon them like two elephants against hostile elephants, eager to fight. Those kings then said, it is impossible to kill a Brahmana who is willing to fight. The mighty Vakartana Karna rushed at Arjuna, eager to fight, like an elephant rushed at a rival over a female elephant. Shalya, king of the Madras, rushed at Bhimsena. Duryodhana and the other rushed at the Brahmanas, but Duryodhana and his brothers, they fought with them lightly and carelessly. Seeing Vakartana Karna rush towards him, the wise Arjuna stretched the mighty bow and pierced him with 3 arrows. This impact of these sharp arrows stunned Radheya, and he approached with greater circumspection. Then those two invincible warriors fought violently, each eager to vanquish the other. Such was the speed that they become invincible. Look at the arms in my look at the strength in my arms. See how I countered that taunt each other in words that only warriors understand. Seeing the valor in Arjuna's arms, unparalleled on earth, Vakartana Karna fought even more vigorously. Repulsing Arjuna's swift arrows, Karna shouted out aloud, and the warriors applauded his feat. Karna said, O foremost among Brahmanas, I am pleased with the strength of your arms, which do not tire in battle, and with your persistent control over weapons, O supreme among Brahmanas, are you Rama, Parshurama, the personification of the knowledge of weapons, or are you Hariheya himself? Or are you Achyuta Vishnu himself? Have you assumed the form of a Brahmana to disguise yourself and are now fighting strongly with me for self preservance, mustering the strength of your arms? When I am angry in the field of battle, no one except Sachi's husband Indra and Pandava Arjuna Kiriti can withstand me. Hearing these words, Falguni replied, O Karna, I am not the science of weapons personified, nor I am the powerful Rama. I am only a Brahmana, chief among warriors and supreme among those who have the knowledge of weapons. Through my preceptor grace, I have become skilled in the use of Brahma and Purandara weapons. O warrior, wait for a bit. I stand here today to vanquish you in battle. At this word, Radhya Karna withdraw from the battle because the Maratha thought that Brahmana's strength was invincible. In another part of the arena, Shalya and Brikodara, both warriors with great strength and knowledge of fighting, were engaged in battle. So Shalya and Bhima both are equal in Malyud. Calling out to each other, they fought like two mad and great elephants, striking each other with clenched fists and knees. For a while they dragged each other around in the duel. Then immensely powerful Bhima raised Shalya up with his arms and hurled him down on the ground. The Brahmanas began to laugh. Bhimsena, bull among men, surprised everyone. But though he hurled the powerful one on the ground, he did not kill him. When Shalya was thus hurled down by Bhima and Karna scared away, all the other kings were frightened and surrounded Vrikodara. They said, these bulls among Brahmanas are supreme. Let us find out in what lineage they were born and where they live. Who can fight with Radhya Karna in battle except Rama, Drona, Kripa, Devaki's son Krishna and Falguni, the scourger of enemies? Who can fight against Duryodhana and who can vanquish in battle the powerful Shalya, king of Madra and chief among warriors except the brave Balarama and Pandava Brikodara? Therefore, let us desist from this fight against the Brahmanas. Tell us find out who they are and then we will happily fight with them again. On witnessing Bhima's fate, Krishna believed them to be Kunti's son. He gently restrained and assembled kings and said, this lady has been won according to Dharma. Thereupon those best of kings skilled in battle refrained from the fight and returned to their kingdom. Wonderstruck, those who had assembled there went away, exclaiming that the Brahmanas had on the day of Panchali had become the wife of a Brahmana. Surrounded by Brahmanas attired in the deerskins of deer and other animals, Bhimsena and Dhananjaya found it difficult to pass. Eventually, those radiant warriors, even men, freed themselves from the crowd followed by Krishna. Their mother had been worried about various evils that might have occurred since they were late in returning after begging for alms. She even thought that Dhritarashtra's son might have recognized and killed those bulls among the Kurus. Had some terrible Rakshasas burst with powers of Maya and firm in their enmity, killed them. However, could the great soul Vyasa's prediction be wrong? Filled with love for her sons, these were the thoughts that occurred to Pritha, Kunti. Then, late in the afternoon, Jishnu, in the company of many Brahmanas, entered with the Brahmana in the forefront like the sun surrounded by clouds. Besampana said Pritha's two illustrious sons went to the potter's house and to Pritha with happiness in their hearts. Those chief among men presented Yagyaseni, means Draupadi, and said, "See what arms we have got." She was inside the house and without seeing her sons, replied, "Share it together." Later, Kunti saw the lady and was miserable at what she had said. She was anxious not to commit adharma and began to think about what might be done. She took the happy Yagyaseni Draupadi by the hand and went to Yudhishthira and said, "O daughter of Drupada was presented to me as alms. Your younger brothers had obtained, O king, O son, as I am in the habit of doing, but in ignorance, I said what I thought was proper. Share it together, O bull among the Kurus. Now tell me, how does instruction of mine don't become a lie? How can the Panchala king's daughter not be touched by adharma committed that which hasn't been done before?" Having been thus addressed by his mother, the wise king Yudhishthira, chief among Kurus, sat for a while and thought. He consulted Kunti and spoke to Dhananjaya, "O Pandava, you are the one who own Draupadi in swayambar. It is proper that you should make this princess happy. Let the sacred fire be lit and offspring made. You should marry her in accordance with the proper rites." Arjuna said, "O king of men, since this is not the law that others accept, do not make me tread this path of adharma. You should marry her first, followed by the mighty armed Bhima and wonderful deeds, mighty armed Bhima of wonderful deeds, then I, then Nakula after me, and finally the energetic Sadeva. O king, Brikodara, I and the twins think that the lady should be yours. This is the state of affairs. After reflecting on it, please do what is appropriate in accordance with dharma and fame and the welfare of the king of Panchala. Instruct us. We are all waiting for your command." Then they all looked at the illustrious Krishna who was standing there. They looked at each other and set down her image in their hearts. When those immensely radiant ones looked at Draupadi, their love for her arose and put their senses into turmoil. Panchali's charming form was created by the Creator himself. It beguiled all living beings and was supreme to all others. Kunti's son Yudhishthira knew from their appearance that was going through their minds. O bull among men, he remembered the pious words, fearing that conflict might arise between the brothers. The king said, "The fortunate Draupadi will be a wife to all of us." Vesampayana said, hearing the words of their eldest brother, all of Pandu's sons of infinite energy were pleased and began to think about the support of those words, suspecting them to the foremost of the Kurus, the chief of the Vrishnis and Rohini's son. Then come to the potter's house where those foremost among men were living. Krishna and Rohini's son saw Ajatasattu Yudhishthira with long and thick arms seated there in a circle. Around him sat the others like blazing fires. Vasudeva went to Kunti's son, foremost among those who follow dharma. He touched with his hands and feet of King Ajamida Yudhishthira and said, O Krishna, Rohini's son went to Yudhishthira and did the same. Seeing them, that the descendants of the Kuru were greatly delighted, O chief of the Bharata lineage, the chief of the Yadu lineage, then touched the feet of their father's sister. Seeing Krishna, Ajatsatru, chief among Kurus, asked him about his welfare and said, O Vasudeva, when we are living here in disguise, how did you manage to track us down? Vasudeva smiled and replied, O king, even when fire is covered, it comes out. Who but the Pandavas can display such valor among men? O destroyer of enemies, it was through good fortune that you escaped from that fire. It was through good fortune that Dhritarashtra's evil son and his advisers did not succeed in their desires. Be blessed, prosper. The way of fire hidden in a cave gradually extend the spreads, permit us to return to camp. Otherwise, the king may discover you. Then, taking permission from the Pandavas, the eternally radiant one quickly went away, accompanied by Baladeva. Bhisampayana said, when the two descendants of Kuru went towards the potter's house, Panchala Dishtidumya followed them. Having sent these attendants away, he hid himself near the potter's house, unknown to those men. In the evening, Bhima, the crusher of enemies, and Jisnu returned with the twins. After begging for alms, they happily handed over to Yudhishthira what they had got. Thereupon, the soft-spoken Kunti spoke to Draupadi's daughter, O fortunate one, first take a portion and offer it to the gods. Then give some alms to a Brahmana, feed some to those who are needy, and give some to men who are around. Then divide the rest into two parts. O fortunate one, give half to Bhima, because that dark youth with a strong body is like a mad bull and is a warrior who always eats a lot. Hearing these excellent words, the chaste princess cheerfully did what she was asked to do. Without any doubt, all of them ate the food. Madri's son, the ascetic Sadeva, quickly spread out a bed of kusha grass on the ground. Thereafter, each of those brave warriors spread out his own deerskins and lay down to sleep on the ground. Those foremost among the Kurus lay down with their heads facing the direction blessed by Agyastya. Kunti lay herself down along their heads, and Krishna lay down along their feet. Through she lay on the ground on kusha grass with Pandu's son like a foot pillow. She felt no grief, nor did she feel disrespect for those bulls among the Kurus. Then those warriors began to think to each other wonderful stories about wars, celestial weapons, chariots, elephants, swords, clubs, and battle axes. The Panchala king's son heard all that they told each other during their conversation. His man saw how Krishna was lying there in that humble state. Prince Dishtidumya set out in great haste to tell King Drupada in detail everything that he had heard during the night. The Panchala king was sad because he did not know where the Pandavas had gone. The great souled one asked Dishtidumya, where has Krishna gone? Who has taken her away? It is a Shudra or one of low birth, has a Vaishya who pays taxes placed his feet on my head. Has a garland been thrown away on a cremation ground, ocean, or is it a foremost man from our own Varna, or is it one from a higher Varna, or has a lower being placed his foot on my head and defiled Krishna? I will be happy in my sacrifices if she has been united with Partha. That bull among men, tell me truthfully, which illustrious one has owned my daughter today? Is there any chance that Vichitravirya's son, foremost among the Kurus, are still alive? Is it perhaps Partha who took up the bow and shot the target today? Vaishnampayana said, having been thus addressed, Prince Dishtidumya, foremost among the lunar dynasty, cheerfully told his father all that had occurred and by whom Krishna had been known. Dishtidumya said, the handsome youth with the long and red eyes, dressed in black deerskin, and like a god in his form, who strung that supreme bow and brought down the target on the ground, leapt hurriedly and without concern. He was soon surrounded by the chief among the Brahmanas who offered him homage. He stood as if he had vanquished Diti's son, surrounded by the gods and the rishis. Like an elephant, bride happily followed the male elephant. Krishna followed, holding his deer skin, unable to bear that side. The assembled lords of men were angered and advanced to fight him. At that, another hero arose in the assembly of kings. He uprooted a gigantic tree and drove away those mass of kings. Like angry Yama, strike down all living creatures, O Lord of men. Those assembled kings could only watch. Those foremost among men took Krishna and went away, resembling the sun and the moon. They went to a potter's house outside the city. A lady sat there, as radiant as a flame of fire. Around her sat the three foremost men, each one like a fire himself. I think she was their mother. Coming to her, those who heroes paid homage at her feet and asked Krishna to pay homage to. Leaving Krishna there, those foremost among men went out to beg for alms. It was Krishna who took for them the alms and offered a share to the gods and another to a Brahmana. She then served a part to that old lady and those five heroes among men and ate herself, O king. Then they all lay down to sleep together with Krishna like a foot pillow. Okay, their bed was made on the bare ground with darbha grass on which their skins were spread. They conversed on various subjects in voices that were as deep as dark clouds, wonderful tales that Vaishyas nor Shudras could speak of, nor did the heroes speak of Brahmana tales, O king. There is no doubt that they are foremost among Kshatriyas. The stories that they told were about wars. Our hopes have clearly been fulfilled. We have heard that Pritha's son escaped from the fire, from the way in which the bow was strung, and the target brought down with strength from the way in which they converged with each other. It is certain that they are Pritha's son, living in disguise. Thereupon King Drupada was extremely happy. He sent his priest to them, directing him, go and tell them we know who they are. Ask them if they are by any chance the sons of the great sword Pandu. As instructed by the king, the priest went to them and praised them. He told them in detail and in the right order to king's message. The priest said, O first among those who deserve homage, the king of Panchala, the granter of wishes, wishes to know who you are. Seeing the one who was shot down the target, his joy has no bounds. Tell us the detail of your family and your lineage. Place your feet on the heads of your enemies. Gladden the hearts of the king of Panchala and his men and mine as well. King Pandu was a dear friend of King Drupada who disregarded him as his own self. He was all along desired that his daughter should be given to that Kaurava as his daughter-in-law, O heroes of unblemished limbs. This desire was always in King Drupada's heart, that the strong and long-armed Arjuna should marry his daughter according to dharma. After the priest had spoken these words and was quiet, the king looked at the humble messenger and instructed Bhima, who was next to him. King Drupada's priest is worthy of respect, and tell him be given more than normal homage. Get water to wash his feet and offspring to given. O ruler of men, Bhima did as he had been instructed, and he accepted the offspring and happily seated himself. Yudhishthira then spoke to the Brahmana, the king of Panchala have his daughter away according to his wishes and according to his own dharma. He set a price, and this brave one has won her in accordance with that. Therefore, no question can be asked about his varna, action, intention, means of living, lineage of Gotra. All those questions have been answered by the act of stringing the bow and strickling the target. In doing that, the great soul one has owned Krishna in an assembly of kings. Since that is the case, the king of the Luna dynasty has no reason to regret his decision or be unhappy. O Brahmana, King Drupada's eternal desire will certainly come to be true for the king, because I think that this king's daughter was unattainable. Otherwise, no one weak in strength or of low birth or unskilled in the use of arms could have strung the bow and shot down the target. Today, it is therefore not proper for the king of Panchala to grieve over his daughter. No man on earth can now undo the fact that he succeeded in smoothing down the target. While Yudhishthira was uttering these words, another messenger swiftly came from the king of Panchala to announce that the feast had been prepared. Next chapter, section 13, वैवाहिक का पर्व.